My name's Jason.
My name is Jason.
My name's Karen.
My name's David.
And this is The Talking Dead, a podcast dedicated to the AMC TV series, The Walking Dead.
It's weird. We've been doing this podcast for a while. I felt nervous.
No reason to be now.
We are in Overcast, San Francisco.
Oh, yeah, I've been there. It's always a bit rainy there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Beautiful city, though.
Yeah.
Thanks, I gotcha.
All right. So tell us a little bit about your show, of course. You guys, how long were you running before The Walking Dead was on TV?
Our first episode was in July, so a few months.
But Jason, our Jason has been a big fan of the comic for years, so I'm sort of new to the comic, but I'm not new to zombie love. Wait, I came out wrong.
Wow. All things will be revealed here today. So, Jason, were you reading the comic from the beginning?
Yeah, I'd seen it in the shop and I didn't get around to picking it up until issue 7, and I immediately bought the trade and kept on going from there.
Back in 2003 or whenever it started?
Yeah, 3 or 4, yeah.
That's cool. See, I only got into it when, I think, well, I got into the second hardcover book was out already, so a couple years after it started. But caught up now.
Did you read from the beginning?
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah, definitely did. I noticed the 2 or maybe 3 hardcovers in stores, but I started from the beginning. It would be no point to start in the middle, I don't think.
No, yeah.
And Karen, you're reading it now?
No, actually, I was. I think I got up to number, I didn't know what it was, maybe number 30 of the comic, and I stopped. And I stopped because I sort of didn't want to know what was coming up, so that Jason, he follows them all every week when they come out, and I stopped so that I wouldn't have that. So you kind of get both perspectives.
So if the show makes it to season 10, then Karen will know what's happening.
That's right. That's okay. So I guess it's kind of cool to have that total blind unknown perspective going in. In some ways, I almost wish I had that, but at the same time, I can't stop reading comics just too good.
Yeah.
It's one of the things I actually like a lot about Lost. I like the mystery of it and not knowing what's going to happen.
Yeah, totally. We were huge Lost fans.
Huge,
as well.
yeah.
So,
You guys talk about Lost on your other podcast?
we did a little bit on the one we used to do. Yeah, we talked about movies and TVs and whatever. So Lost was a big part of that at times. Yeah. So
That was fun. We had tens of listeners. It was great.
Wow.
yeah, I think, yeah,
I think I only just got my immediate family to listen to.
yeah, that could be tricky. My dad used to work in radio. He was a broadcaster. I don't think he even listens to this.
I like it.
Harsh.
Yeah, I know.
Any hockey fans?
Total I am.
I'm not.
No.
Did you hear our interview with Steven Yeun? Steven Yeun is from Michigan, and he's a big hockey fan.
He's a Red Wings fan, I think he said, right?
You did claim to be a Red Wings fan. I was a little suspicious because you did not seem to know that the Red Wings were defeated by our Sharks last year.
Oh, yeah, I don't know how you did not.
You're busy with Walking Dead, or with Walking Dead. So
I guess I'm a huge fan myself, which is difficult these days.
oh, you poor man.
Yeah, after the preseason, they looked pretty good, and they won the first 4 games, and I thought, well, there's no way they can keep up, but I thought if it does, that'd be great. And of course, they went 8 losses in a row after that, something like that. So
Still the greatest hockey town, or one of the few on Earth, and a great franchise. So I'm selling my ideal story for you, but Karen, their team has 16 more than that. So I didn't go too bad.
except the last one was in the late 60s, and at this point, I'm just going for another one before I die.
Before the zombie apocalypse.
Yeah, which probably is the time I'm going to die anyway. So,
No, we have useful tips. I'm going to stay alive.
You're going to involve running. Not bad.
yeah.
I'm going to get one of those little carts that old people get, those electric...
A rascal, you're a rascal.
Yeah.
Chainsaw run?
But what happens when you, I mean, I see it's disaster when your battery runs out. Your battery packs slowly.
It's high drama, though.
Yeah, maybe the battery run it will explode.
Definitely.
Just before we move on, speaking of sports, back in the 90s, the Toronto Blue Jays won back-to-back World Series. I don't know, and I'm not a big baseball guy, but that was kind of fun.
Right. What are you saying? Are you saying that maybe that's more than our San Francisco Giants have?
Not at all. I have no idea. I'm just saying that's probably the last major sports success we've had in the city.
Yeah.
I
That was a pretty, I am a big baseball fan. That was a pretty amazing phenomenon. I remember sellouts in Sky every night and millions and millions of attendance.
It was a big deal.
Giving life the idea that Canada was not baseball.
Well, we're the only team outside of the States, right? In baseball?
I didn't even realize Canada. I'm sorry, but I didn't even know. I'm not a sports fan, but that's pretty cool.
That is true.
Yeah, so I mean, the streets flooded. I remember running out around town and just crowd celebrating everywhere. It was kind of fun.
Yeah, being on Young Street with 100,000 people was pretty intense.
I have to say though, you're Canadian. You celebrate really politely.
Well, not Montreal. If you've ever been there, every time the Canadians do something right, and destroy the place. So.
Really?
Just like
Wow, we're all North American.
Exactly, we're more the same than different. So, all right, why don't we move on and get into our top 5? We'll continue where we left off on the Walking Dead cast. So, Jason, Karen, David, why don't you go first with your number 5?
Okay, my number 5 is Glenn. That's it. No,
Good old
Glenn is my favorite character in the comic, but so far on the show, Glenn's my favorite. And when we interviewed Steven Yeun, we told him that people had been saying he was like the Hurley of the show, and he didn't seem to like that. And I felt kind of bad because he only seen the first season of Lost, and I think he thought that meant that he was kind of just like the Joker guy. And but I really like Glenn. He's selfless. He's respectful. He doesn't want Daryl to burn the bodies of the friends with the zombies. He's super smart. And he knows how to get around the city better than anyone else because he's a delivery guy. And he's really naive, which is endearing. He gets excited about finding that car, and he's a good person without being boring, which I really like. And I'm especially excited to see what's coming up for Glenn with Maggie and everything.
That'd be great. I really like Glenn too. I mean, I was a little worried that he was played out as comic relief a little too much. And I guess that's kind of what you thought you were saying when you compared him to Hurley. But as we all know, Hurley ended up being one of the most important characters in Lost. But yeah, Glenn, a little bit of comic relief, but I think he's been just fantastic. I think he's great.
I remember at the beginning of the series being concerned that he would be the Hurley of The Walking Dead. But the character has grown so far beyond the simple comic relief, fun to have in the scene kind of guy. He's somewhat more important.
Yeah, he still has the quips, which I think is good as long as it's balanced with the rest of his character, which I think they've done a pretty good job of it.
Yeah,
And
like
I have to add, I'm kind of a fan of comic relief actually. It's a grim series, and I like the moments of levity that he brings. I appreciate it.
And one other thing about Glenn's character, and I thought in Vatos too, which is an episode I think we all really enjoyed, both in the comic book but in the TV series as well, they play with the roles of people and how they're different after the apocalypse than before. So you take Rick Grimes, who's a police officer, and you expect him to be a natural leader, but in Vatos, the leader that was like a custodian in the hospital, and one of the leadership roles in this group in the camp is this kid who's a police.
Exactly.
they played up Glenn's leadership abilities a little bit more in the show. I think they've when they're in the department store, I think in episode 2, and he was going to go down the sewer to look for a way out. I mean, that was his plan that he laid out and said, I don't want you all coming with me. You go do this, you go do this. And Glenn has been comic relief, but also a leader amongst his group, much more so than I think we ever saw in the comic, or at least in the beginning of the comic. So they've done a fine job. Karen, David.
Okay, I'm going to say I'm going to be a contrarian. I know that a lot of people didn't like the CDC, but I really liked it. I liked that it took the show into more science fiction realm, whereas before it was really about survival. When they went to CDC, it got kind of typical and science fiction, and I really liked that. I loved what Dr. Jenner. I love the moment that he grabs Rick right before he was running away, he grabs Rick or something to him, which I love. The mystery there. I liked everything about it, including when they explode and when they run out and they make it back to their caravan, and the Dylan song comes on. It was a very touching ending. It explodes, and yeah, I thought it was great.
I heard next season they're going to find a flying car and go to Hawaii, so if you're really going to like that.
Oh my god.
If we're going to go sci-fi, we'll have flying cars and
Absolutely.
stuff.
Space Jason Alien, why not?
We'll get more into the CDC, I think, a little bit later in my list. So, Jason, M, you're up.
I'm going to go with actually a specific line in the CDC. When Edwin Jenner said that those doors are designed to withstand a rocket launcher, and Daryl comes in with, "You're hitting," goes out with an axe. Just that line I just love.
Daryl was certainly an entertaining character.
He was.
Speaking of Daryl, he's next on my list actually. I thought he was probably. I mean, you love to hate this guy. Sometimes you hate him, sometimes he was great. He had amazing one-liners. I'm tempted to say that Daryl was maybe the best character on the show, even more so than Rick and Shane and all the primary characters. He of course is one of the new ones, and I think he's become a fan favorite already. So I'm kind of excited to see that. I was a little trepidatious about having so many new characters on board, and I don't think they all worked, but Daryl was one that really did, in my opinion. And he also has probably the best weapon of everybody.
Crossbow.
Yeah, and Norman Reedus Blazing did a fantastic job. Just as a side note, fans of his have resulted in more Twitter followers for us than anything else. So Those are dedicated people, I'll tell you for sure.
Yeah.
So,
Somebody remember on the New Heart show where they just come in and say, I'm not reading the sniper, Daryl,
Oh, yeah.
I was thinking about that.
so yeah, Daryl.
I really didn't like Daryl at first as a person, but I always liked him as a character. Now I'm starting to just dig him as a person, seeing how capable he is, and he's getting more complex and everything. So yeah, I'm excited to see what happens with him. He doesn't just kick butt in the first episode of the season.
Yeah, I hope not. I think probably the writers and everyone who's involved in the show know that they have a character on their hands here that they can do a lot with. So I doubt they'll knock him on the first episode or anytime soon for that matter.
On the other hand, the writers are all fired, so.
Yeah, who knows? We'll get new ones on.
That's just a disinformation campaign.
Yeah,
I think it's all just hype.
Yes, me too. Yeah.
And Daryl's not just your close-minded redneck. I mean, when discussing things, he actually is open to suggestions, especially when he was talking to Glenn and asked him what he did for a living. He said, well, deliver pieces. Well,
Open suggestions to kill people.
Yeah.
Different ways of
Small
doing
steps. Small steps.
Hey, thanks.
Yeah.
That's right. Okay, number 4, I guess, Jason.
Number 4 was the uncompromising violence. They really went for it, and I was happy about that. Originally, I'm sure you guys know Walking Dead was going to be on NBC, and I just can't imagine what the show would have ended up like. I'm really happy that didn't happen. They get shot in the head, they get axed in the head, they get cleaved in two. Even Merle got his hand cut off, and I like how most of the time the violence is serious, but sometimes it's funny, like when they're hacking up the zombie guts, or my favorite when Daryl's fighting all the dead zombies in the head in the middle of all these poignant moments going on.
Or Carol taking the pickaxe multiple times to her late husband.
Yeah,
that was one of the most awesome
I
scenes.
really like that.
That was pretty cool. I like the gore and the violence as well. I mean, this show just wouldn't work on NBC, is it? So AMC is the right place for it, and they obviously delivered in that part. Yeah, for sure. David, you're up.
Yeah, I'm going to cite the flip side of something that was mentioned earlier, and you guys were talking about how they mentioned the actors that play Merle and Morgan in the credits for the last show, but they didn't show up. I'm eager to see them as well, but in retrospect, I actually kind of glad they left some things open, like that happened in the second series, because there's a little bit of mystery, and it seems like, whether it's Kirkman or Frank Darabont or whoever is the driving force behind that, they're in no hurry to give you what you expect. They're going to make you wait for some moments of the story, and I kind of get the feeling with either Merle or Morgan or maybe both, they're going to make us wait so long that we forgot about them, and then they will reappear and we'll be, oh crap, they reappeared. So I actually kind of like that they left some mystery in those storylines.
Yeah, I think so too. As much as I would like to have seen them back, you're absolutely right in that drawing it out a little bit more is probably better for the show, and in the end more entertaining for us as viewers too. I think Kirkman said at some point, maybe after all six broadcast, he was talking about just sort of the speed at which things were happening in the comic book when he was first writing, because he didn't know it would survive or last long, so he wanted to get a lot of stuff in. But then after it became a huge success, I think he slowed down a little bit too. So they're just taking that slower approach with the TV show, which is good.
That means they have long-term expectations of the television show, which is good for us.
That is good for us. Yeah, and another thing I read too is that Darabont, he knows that the comic can go on forever, the TV show probably can't realistically go on forever. So even though it's a zombie story that never ends in Kirkman's mind, Darabont is thinking about Endgame eventually. So that's good too. Interesting. The difference is there. So.
The endgame will be the zombie chomping on the last survivor second.
That's it. Nobody left. Yeah.
Carl.
Just Carl, yeah.
Yeah, we all know this is Carl's story, right? He'll be the last man standing.
Yeah.
Jason.
I'm going to bring it back to Daryl. One of the things I enjoy, just a small little tiny thing, but when Daryl first shows up, he has this big bunch of squirrels on a string, and he throws it at Rick. I just love the fact that he got mad enough to throw squirrels at Rick.
I didn't notice that there were squirrels.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of squirrels. We got back to camp.
I think he walked in and he said, I got some squirrels or something
There's
like that.
like 15 squirrels on a string.
Yeah.
Tell the frogs. It was a good episode. Right in the beginning. Threw the squirrels at Rick.
It was funny when you chucked him out.
I started liking Daryl right then.
He's a squirrel thrower.
That's right.
That was bad. Okay, me, I would say, I want to talk a little bit about the new characters. This is my number 4. I liked, as we've gone over, I really like Daryl. I think Merle's a good character who will come back someday, long after we've forgotten. But some of the other ones, I'm not sure they were all that necessary. I mean, Ed seemed to be added just to be killed, which kind of bugged me a little bit. Even though Jackie had a bigger role, she kind of felt like she was added in just to add drama to that final episode and be blown up in the CC. And then, Morales' family, I figured near the beginning they would be a replacement or a different take on Alan and Donna and their 2 kids. But then at the end, they just kind of got in their car and drove off their separate ways too. So I guess we could see them again, but I ended up thinking, what was the point of injecting these new characters, just have them die, which maybe that was the point, or in Morales' family's part, just drive off into the sunset and never hear from them again. So as much as I think Daryl and Merle and those characters were great, the other ones wasn't too sure on. You guys have any thoughts on them?
What about T-Dog?
T-Dog I didn't mind, but I felt as the series went on, he faded into the background a little bit. He was important in the department store in episode 2 and so on. And there was, maybe episode 3 or 4, he was there, didn't have a line. I don't think, or maybe he had one short one. So he kind of faded into the background a little bit. We didn't see him, but that said, I think he's pretty good. I think he's probably going to stick around for a while.
I'm a little worried
I
about
really enjoy his character, but in thinking back on it, really the only 2 notable things he did were get beat up by Merle and drop the key on the drain.
Yeah, and that's it. Yeah, and after that, he was just kind of hanging around and he moved on.
With him fading to the background, I'm a little worried that in season 2, if he's in the background for the first couple of seasons, as soon as they bring him to the foreground, we know he's going to die. And they're waiting forward to kill him.
Yeah, exactly. He'll have to take a bigger part all of a sudden. Something's up, right?
He's the grand tradition of the original Star Trek. Anytime you saw somebody you hadn't seen before, you knew they were in trouble.
Yeah, he's on a red shirt. That's been scary.
Right. So I think he's the actor played the part really compellingly and it made me want to see more from him. So I hope they develop his character and he wasn't just there as well for Merle.
Yeah, I hope not. I mean, I'm okay with them. I do want to see them do something. Everyone needs to have an important part in his group. One of the themes is that they have to come together to survive, I think, and you can't just be kind of hanging around. Like it worked on Lost. Speaking of Lost, where there were background characters that were, I guess, survivors, but not really part of the main story. But here, I don't think it will work as well if he's just in the background doing nothing.
Well, it's like Nicky Paolo. They brought that forward and they just killed him.
Hey, I loved Mickey and Paolo.
I didn't.
But they were paralyzed by spiders.
Yeah, it was a good ending for them.
Very live.
Yes, I love that. That's a great episode.
All right. Next, Jason.
So my number 3.
Is it your turn, sure?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. My number 3 is kind of long, but the theme of having the will to live in the face of loss. Looking back over the series, it stands out that after this whole apocalypse, everything gone to hell, society obliterated, that some characters still have the drive to keep on living, and some don't. And some have this kind of spark of life, like Rick and Glenn and Daryl, and some don't, like Jim, who went after Jim. And I think it's related to family. Rick has Lori and Carl. Dwayne kind of keeps Morgan going, even though his wife is gone. Dale said something like, "You 2 girls are the only thing that's kept me going," about Amy and Andrea, so that's sort of surrogate family. Merle is obviously extremely important to Daryl, and Jim, he lost his family, and his life has totally gone out. He just wants to die. Same thing. Jenner, he lost his wife. He thinks there's no point going on. Amy and Andrea had each other, but as soon as Amy died, you could see Andrea's like, which I hated seeing. Jenner, and then I kind of thought maybe that's why Jackie was so quick to give up, because she didn't have anybody. Sending her character a little bit more interesting to me.
She didn't have a husband?
I felt like she was starting to form something with Jim too, and that was when he decided to give up. She was kind of devastated by that.
Even though she ratted him out.
Yeah.
But yeah, there would seem to be some moments there, yeah. And I think Shane is really interesting with all this because he doesn't have any family, but he thought he found a surrogate family and got ripped away. So, we'll see if he continues to have the will to go on. And I think that Glenn is an anomaly here because he seems to have no one, but he's still determined.
Yeah, he's gonna find someone, I think so. It's cool that you mentioned just family and stuff, and it's obvious every character is affected by that. When you think about it, it kind of makes sense. If we joked earlier about if you have the guts to shoot your spouse in the face if they became a zombie, but in reality, I mean, if I have a family and 2 little girls, and if I lost them, I don't think I'd be able to go on. So it's an interesting look at each of these characters and how there are people around them really determine sort of their ability to continue and their motivations and actions and stuff like
Exactly, yeah.
that. David, what are you next? Or Karen? Okay.
We had talked about casting a little bit earlier, and citing that I haven't seen anybody in the cast I didn't like, but I wanted to cite 2 people in particular I thought were extraordinary, which 2 of the main characters, Andrew Lincoln and Jeffrey Lund, and particularly what about them is sort of the incongruity of their previous work and experience. So Andrew Lincoln, the only place I had seen him before was in Somebody Love Actually, and we were talking about that before. And he sort of plays this character who's stalking the wife of his best friend, who's the best man of. I didn't even recognize him as the same person. I had to look it up, and just from a pretty pitch perfect American accent, but to a very different character. He's shown himself off as a very professional actor, and also Jeffrey Lund, who I believe has some Shakespeare in his background, some really serious stuff. And so I just think those 2 guys sort of lift the quality of the whole cast out of what you would normally see in television series.
Especially Jeffrey, I think he's been acting forever and it's obviously just very, very good at what he does.
I'm glad that, yeah, for sure. I'm glad that
And when Jason and Turner interviewed him, it came across how serious he is about his craft. And Jason asked him about what about being on the zombie show. You know, it's sort of definitely a departure, and he just seemed like he was taking it as seriously as Hamlet or anything else he's done.
Sure.
Was that,
by the way?
Was that a tough interview?
One of the royalties. Jason Garrett podcast.
Yeah, of course. Jason, was that a tough interview to do? Like, was he? I mean, just because he's more known than most of the actors, I think. Was it tough for you to do, or did you find any of those interviews difficult?
No, it wasn't tough. It was really interesting. He was very forthcoming and fascinating. I didn't have to do much work. Probably the toughest one was with Chandler. It was especially hard because he was in a car and on his cell phone and he couldn't hear us very well. I wish we'd also given him some questions ahead of time so he could prepare. It was a great time to him, and when Darren and him got into video games, that was probably when he was the most open and everything.
And talking about the food trucks on the set, he loved that. His favorite thing, ribs.
Oh, nice. I agree. Yeah, it's one of my favorite things.
Because that was great for a zombie show.
I thought you did a great job talking to him, and I mean, kids like to do a lot of answers like, yep. You know, and that can be tough to keep it moving along, you know. So,
He's a good actor too.
Yeah, he was. I mean, we just then saw the next episode, which was Vatos with the attack on camp. I don't know if you guys noticed that he was really, really good at that. He was just falling.
yeah, he was cool. Do you remember the scene where they had Jim tied to the tree after he was seriously bleeding, and they called after that scene they called the kids away, and Chandler and the girl who plays Sophia kind of ran through in the background, and he trips and falls, and then gets up and keeps running. I was hoping you asked him if that was just him falling down, being excited, and then getting up and running and just went with it, because I can imagine he probably just flood the run kind of and just went with it anyways.
I actually didn't notice that. I heard you guys say it on the podcast later, but I think we already talked about it.
Oh, okay. I don't know. I thought it was one of those funny things that they could be done, but why bother? I mean, kids falling all the time. So,
Adults too.
oh yeah. Jason, your turn, I think.
No, it was another something that I didn't like all that much. I think overall in the series, the sound effects I found to be a bit lacking, and I thought that they were a little too over the top. The squelchy kind of when you hit them in the head with the pickaxe, a little too squelchy when they were pulling up all the zombie guts to put on Glenn and Rick. I just thought it was a little too over the top. I was hoping for a little more realism in the squelchy process. But
I just like to use the word squelchy
three times.
Like,
I feel passionately about this. So I just thought overall the sound effects were a little bit much, and the sound of the guns. Every time somebody moved the gun, it made a sound of it talking, which I didn't really like all that much either. So I thought the overall sound effects I thought were a little.
What about the zombie sounds?
I thought the zombie sounds were pretty good. Like, as far as mulling running zombies, it was great. But yeah, just some of them were just a little bit. And overall, I think it was good, but it could have been a little bit better in other aspects.
I totally noticed that now that you said it.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I can't say I really noticed it, but now I'll be listening for it probably. But that gun thing that's just a movie and TV thing.
I know,
I
that
can't
move,
yeah, but it makes sense.
And tires wheeling under road guns.
Kind of stupid. So my next one is a scene that I really like, and it's Amy's resurrection scene, I guess, for lack of a better word. But I just thought they did that really well. I liked how Andrea was with her the whole time, and when she did start to come back to undeadness or become a zombie, she Andrea stayed there, and the way Andrea reacted was absolutely amazing. I think the best thing about it was just that it really solidified Andrea's character into what she becomes and what she's on her way to. So that was the most important thing about that scene. I think it was more important for Andrea than it was for Amy. But I just liked how they portrayed sort of the zombie waking up, and it seemed like there was a tiny moment of partial recognition, but that was gone almost instantly, and she was reaching for a tasty bite. Yeah, just absolutely. Yeah, and then the way Andrea just kind of leans in, tells her she loves her, and blows her head right off. It was.
I like that she was obviously very upset, but she didn't lose her cool. She knew what she had to do, and she did it. But she's tough as nails.
Tough as nails. Okay, Jason, you're next.
Okay, my number 2 is zombie humanity. I kind of liked how they kind of hinted that maybe there's still some of their former humanity left, like when Morgan's wife is kind of hanging out looking for him, and with Amy, like you just mentioned, she kind of seemed to recognize Andrea, but also wanted to eat her. But it's done, I think, in such a way that it could almost be an illusion, like maybe Morgan's wife just wanted, maybe there was no recognition there at all, or maybe it didn't have anything to do with humanity anyway. And then when Jenner shows that there's only a small part of the brain and the brain stem that's active, it makes it seem like they're saying, okay, no, there isn't any humanity left. But I kind of wonder, I don't necessarily think it's going to happen, but I kind of wonder if they'll raise the question in the next season whether humanity resides in the brain, or could they take it in a little bit more of a spirituality direction. And I've said that I don't like when the show gets away from being grounded, but I think if they raise some spiritual questions around that, it could actually be pretty cool.
Yeah, questions of spirituality are a good one because people struggle with those in real life all the time. So I don't think it ungrounds the show at all to introduce that. We all know that there was some question there before Jim died, whether he was some sort of psychic or something because he had that dream. That would piss me off if they introduced that.
Yeah.
But questions
like that.
I would love it.
Really? Yeah. No, I wasn't on board with that, so I'm glad they didn't do that. But questions of spirituality and just what makes you come from somewhere other than your brain, stuff like that. That's okay. Those things people struggle with all the time anyways.
I can see them definitely exploring that aspect through their character that they need, like they need a priest or some kind of spiritual person to explore that kind of aspect of it. I'm not sure the whole show will go in that direction, or nor do I want it to. But I think they can definitely play with that for maybe 1-2 episodes, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I wondered too with Jim digging the holes that I thought some of the other people in the camp were overreacting to that.
Oh yeah.
The whole zombie apocalypse has happened, civilization as we know it has ended, and everybody's freaking out because this guy was digging
Look at man digging some holes. Like, what was he learning?
Well, that's what I thought. I mean, the fact that the whole group went up there, confronted about these holes, seemed a little unnecessary.
Or just tied to a tree.
Yeah, time to tree right next to the kids. If you're scaring the kids, so what do you need to do? You need to tie to a tree right next to them.
Yeah, as long as you tie it up. And then they let them talk right to him, So I don't know. Maybe that's why Jennifer fell down right after that. It was so freaked out. I don't know. All right, Karen, your next one.
Yeah, this is actually my last one. So I had a hard time figuring out what was going to be my very last one. I wanted to say like a two-parter. The consolation is to the writing of the ring was awesome on the show. I really did. I really brought the conflict to life. But my number one is the zombies themselves. I loved the makeup in the show. I thought it was wonderful. And in particular, one of my favorite zombies. I didn't notice her in the first time I watched episode 6. Maybe she was in episode 5. She was in the department store, and her tongue and lower jaw were basically detached and kind of hanging out. But I saw a still on a blog of her face, and boy, she was gruesome. She still freaks me out, and I just love her. So I'm gonna have to say, I love Bicycle Girl. I loved all the makeup on the show. I think they did a really good job with the zombies. And by the way, here she is, right there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she's pretty gruesome. Yeah, and in fact, we're talking about maybe doing a zombie week next season, and so we'll have our weekly favorite zombie, which I kind of love. I mean, she's great. I love all the look of them. I think they did a great job makeup.
Very good. Karen, more zombie love. They were awesome. I mean, the zombies were amazing. I mean, they were awesome. The effects group did a fantastic job, and they were creepy and gross. And I don't think they could have been any better. Even grosser, exactly. All right, Jason.
Is that right? I go with a very specific scene. Again, the short scene was Michael Rooker's performance at the beginning of Tales of the Frogs when his hand is handcuffed. He's just on the he's obviously slipping, mentally slipping, he's battling to himself and just talking, and the whole desperation of him being there. And there's one specific aspect where he kind of loses focus and he just kind of stares off into the distance. And he comes back to realization that he's still chained to the roof, and he starts screaming, "No, no, no!" It was fantastic.
I agree. I really like that scene. It just made me. I had some doubts about his character, but then that scene made him all go away.
Yeah. Well, Michael Rooker's an amazing actor too. If you've been watching anything he's done, he's always pretty good. I had AMC on the other day. Cliffhanger came on.
Oh yeah,
and he was in Cliffhanger.
he was.
I had no recollection of him. He was the. Have you guys seen Cliffhanger? The Stallone movie?
Long time ago.
Do you remember the one at the beginning who Stallone drops and she falls to her death?
Yeah.
Michael Rooker played the husband. Yeah, he's different. He looks different now.
No, that guy was what's his name? He was in Henderson's on Third Rock and the Sun. Paul guy, like the same, plays the banjo. What's his name?
John
Lithgow was the bad guy.
Okay, well, Michael Rooker was the husband of the woman who fell to her death. So,
mean guy.
a much younger Michael Rooker.
And he was in Mallrats.
Oh yeah, he's in Mallrats. That's right. Kevin Smith movie. Yeah. He got the chocolate pretzel, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Speaking of gross. All right, my number 2 is the Center for Disease Control. I'm a little bit torn about this scene because I do think it's a really good idea. And I think it makes a lot of sense. It's logical for these characters to go there and seek help. But there's some things about this I didn't really like. And Jason, I think you were talking about this in your last episode, maybe. And the computer voice that they had in there and some of the technology that was demonstrated kind of bugged me a little bit. Wasn't my favorite thing in the world. And I'm glad that that whole thing got wrapped up quickly and they've moved on. So
exploded.
it's all exploded, yeah. So as much as I think it's a logical step, and I don't blame the writers for going there at all. Like we talked about before, I would prefer it to be a little bit more of a boring nondescript government building, and not have fancy computers that can respond to intelligence and talk to you and stuff like that. Right. So it wasn't my favorite part of it, but I didn't really hate it either.
Yeah, I agree. It does make sense for them to go there. When I heard they were going to go there, I actually like the idea.
Well, that's it. It makes sense. I like the idea, and the way they played it up, getting there and getting over there was definitely pretty cool and exciting. And, and I really like seeing where they arrived and they're kind of slowly going through the bodies littered everywhere and stuff. And it was really, really visually awesome and so on. But once I got inside, some of the stuff in there I wasn't keen on.
Well, I know the direction they were going in with that big room and the lighting and the big screens. It was very reminiscent of Dr. Strangelove in the War Room. And I don't know if you've seen that. I love that movie. It was also
amazing movie.
Yeah, it was also very reminiscent of War Games. Like it's the center for disease control. They were going with control center. We need to make control center, so we need to look at these classic control centers. So they kind of went with that. I'm not sure, like the direction they decided to go in. I'm not sure it was the best direction, but it was definitely something they were going for.
It was kind of cool, but kind of lame at the same time in my mind.
Well, you'll never stand up to Dr. Strangelove and beat it because you can't beat it.
Similarly to this in Dr. Strangelove, the big control room ends up being a spectacular failure.
Oh yeah.
All right, Jason, you're number 1, I guess.
My number 1 is same pretty much the zombies. I thought they looked great. I thought they shambled really well. The zombies really paid off. I thought they were really creepy, which was good, especially at night. The attack on the camp was awesome, thrilling, and gruesome. I even like the CG blood effects they did, which I haven't really seen like that before. And I thought they sounded really good. Rawr. And I like that, as I said, they're playing with the zombies. Might not have some of their former selves left. One thing that I thought was a little weird is, I'm curious what you guys think is, sometimes when you see a whole group of zombies like when they're on the building looking down the street, they seem to kind of evenly disperse themselves around the area if there's no stimulus and stand equidistant apart. Look like I thought that was a little strange.
Didn't you think they would get close to each other, hang on?
I don't know, but it looked almost like they were in formation.
Wow. Didn't you notice that, Jason? They kind of spread themselves out.
Yeah, during the final scene of the pilot, the camera was panning up away from the tank. All the zombies were incredibly evenly spaced. Like, okay, everybody spread out. it was a lot. I agree.
Yeah, but overall, I really think they got this crucial aspect of the show right. I thought the zombies were awesome, and I'm really glad about that.
Well, it would all be for naught if the zombies suck. So,
Exactly.
yeah, they're pretty good. Karen, Dave, did you have one more, or was your number 1 last one?
We do have one more.
Cool.
And this is definitely a little bit off what Jason said earlier about the uncompromising violence. What struck us or what struck me is just how grim the show is. And there's a little bit of humor relief in it, but not all that much. And I was impressed by the essentially the courage that the producers have had in taking this route in an ongoing series. But there's a lot of apocalyptic movies. So if you take 20 Days Later, which is a zombie movie, or just thinking about ones that are so like The Day After Tomorrow, which is kind of a cheesy climate change apocalypse, or 12 Monkeys, which is very grim. There's a miniseries in the 80s, if you remember, called The Day After, which was about nuclear war and sort of the survivors thereof, if indeed there are any. But all those things were either movies or miniseries. It wasn't this kind of move continuing over an extended TV series. Really, it's going to be over a period of years. So respect the audience enough to say people can take it on an ongoing basis and keep it interesting. I think that's sort of new ground. So I'm
Totally. And it must have been a bit of a risk for them going in to take on something like this, but as we know now, it was a massive success.
Absolutely.
So there you go. Jason, you're number 1.
My number 1, I'm going to go with something that kind of hinted at something that they may wrap up in season 1, but it was mentioned at the beginning and never came back again. It's that helicopter we saw in the pilot. It never comes back, never gets referenced again. It was chasing the helicopter. But what's going on with the helicopter?
Yeah, you're right.
Or that reflection of that.
Well, it was a reflection of the helicopter, but maybe we thought it could have been at the CDC if they had the whole setup still going there, but no, it was just Jenner that was there. So the helicopter came from somewhere.
Okay, let's go around the table and see if we can come up with a theory. I don't know if the helicopter was real. Maybe Rick imagined it.
No, he's
Is that possible?
Well, they gave a little bit of inkling that it could be a hallucination.
Kind of, because when Rick mentions the helicopter to the rest of the group, they're all like, "We're talking about what helicopter?" And not only that, but I mean, Merle would have been up on that roof probably, and he would have seen the helicopter. Why wouldn't he have said something?
Well, maybe he was too busy being angry, and then he came to the roof.
Maybe.
He was hopped up on coke.
Yeah.
During his scene where he was going crazy at the beginning, he was talking about chain of command. He did mention the phrase chain of command, so maybe he's talking about the helicopter. I hadn't thought of that.
I thought that they introduced the helicopter mainly. This was just an idea I had that Rick is kind of coming into town on the edge of town, and it's the helicopter that spurs him to bolt into the center of town right in the middle of all the zombies. So I thought that was one of Frank Darabont's ways of making the show make more sense than the comic, and I thought it was great. But then if you're going to introduce a helicopter, I think it would be good for it to pay off somehow. So hopefully they have something more in mind for it.
And I think that they do. I believe that they're leading up and foreshadowing something coming later. Although evidently this is different in the comic, right?
Oh yeah.
Well, I mean, it's got to lead to something. Whether they determine, I mean, it's going to be pretty hard to determine that it was just a hallucination, I think. So I think it does have to lead to something. If you read the comic, you might have an idea, but who knows? It could be anything.
They brought a grenade back.
I was going to say they introduced a grenade and they brought it back right at the end there. Yeah, but that was good. So
I would have Rick continually seeing helicopters everywhere.
And then spaceships.
yeah, right. There's Crazy Rick again with his helicopter stuff.
Right there, you see it?
Yeah, that'd be awesome. My number 1 is I just have to go with the entire first episode, the premiere. It was so much. I mean, it wasn't better than I was expecting, but it was so good, and I love how it was kind of like right off the page of the comic. Almost everything in it was straight out of the comic. The expanded stuff they did with Morgan and Dwayne worked so well too that I can't find anything about that episode that I didn't love. I think it's got to be near my favorite sort of TV premiere of all time. And sometimes I worry that I'm a little bit biased because we think about it and talk about it every week, and we were anticipating it leading up for so long. But I realized that when I do that, I often let down a little bit. In this case, I wasn't let down at all. So I think that means it was really good, and I was really excited to have premiere and be so fantastic. The rest of the series was good too. The first episode to me was just one of the best things I've ever seen on TV.
The only thing I didn't like about it was that it set the bar so high that it was tough to stay at that level. I'm glad it was like that. I completely agree with you. I thought the first episode was cut above the rest of the series for the most part. There were some highlights throughout, of course, but as a whole episode, it just was way better. It was better.
That's what I mean. The whole package was just better than all of them. Although they all were good, and they all had stand-up scenes.
Is that what ends with him on horseback riding into Atlanta? Yeah, that's a great shot.
Yeah, and everything there. I mean, the introduction. I mean, waking up in the hospital. I mean, part of it for me is how close the comic stays, but whatever they did, I mean, it worked. So I was really excited. Really thought it was great. And hopefully season 2 is as good. I'm sure it'll be.
Hey, speaking of mysteries, what do you guys think Dr. Jenner referred to Rick?
Okay, well, I'm totally on board with your wife is pregnant. We love that. Who knows if he said your wife is pregnant and it's not your baby? I know it is kind of thing, but I don't know. I really considered that, but I think that's what the whisper was. And Rick, and he has no time to process after that. He just kind of runs out and escape, and they get in the van. But I wouldn't be surprised if we come back in season 2 and we see him acting rather strange, maybe very distant, not knowing what to think, and then ultimately comes up and leads to certain things. But that's what my theory is.
I'm going to go with you're all infected already. The fact that
They're
everybody.
all going to be zombies.
Well, they are all going to be zombies. And I think that they set the tone with once you get bitten by a zombie, you get a fever and die. But I think that becoming a zombie, if you just die, you still become a zombie. You still get a fever and get killed. So I think that it was something along the lines of you're already infected, you're already become zombies. Probably a little shorter than that because it didn't take very long to whisper every whisper. But I think they're already all infected. Rick knows it.
You guys have any other theories?
I think he said.
Right.
No, I agree with you, Chris. I think he said your wife's pregnant and probably James the father.
Or your wife is like 3 months pregnant, which would send out into the coma.
Yeah. So I think that's just what it's got to be. I mean, I wonder what you think, Karen.
I think he's giving vital information about how to win, how to defeat zombies.
Sort of like
I'm
here's.
not going to say that vital information.
Don't kill them all.
That's what I feel.
Well, could be. I mean, some people are theorizing that he just gave him a tip, like, go here. I heard there's some living people, or there's a farm outside of town that you might want to check out.
Or like a sister facility in Colorado, Colorado Springs, they're the closest to finding the answer or something.
Yeah, and that's a good theory. I think it could be something like that. But to whisper it to him, it's got to be something. It's a secret, exactly. And he's telling him and letting Rick decide what to do with that information. If it was where to go, he might have just yelled that out. Right.
Like I said in the last episode, it could have been I'm gay, why don't you stick around because he wouldn't want to
Yeah, probably. If it was that, yeah. I mean, I guess he figured he was going to be blown anyway, so he might as well let the world know. Oh man. All right, so I think that does it really for our season 1 wrap up spectacular.
Yay.
We have a long wait until season 2. I mean, we don't really know yet, but indications are that it's not coming back to Halloween again, which is good, but kind of bad for us.
Very long.
We were talking last week about maybe they should start it in August and end it on Halloween, which would be better, but who knows what they're going to do. So
It's funny that they haven't come out and said yet, as if they don't even know for sure.
Yeah, I mean, they've got a plan, you would think. Maybe they're just keeping it under wraps for now so we can continue talking about it some more and wonder.
I don't think
Or
anybody
maybe
really,
they're writing scripts and figuring, figure out how long it's going to actually take to do it all.
I don't think
Well,
anybody
these
now
things
is,
don't just have to do with the one show. So for AMC, they have their other big hit, Mad Men, which didn't really cross over. That was a big Sunday night show before The Walking Dead. So maybe it's a question of how one man just
Right.
properties
And
together.
they got Rubicon too, I think, and they're trying to bring Rubicon. I think they're trying to bring
No,
Rubicon.
it got canceled.
Oh, never mind.
But they've got Breaking Bad to worry about and a new show called The Killing Time this year, which, hopefully is cool.
I don't think any network's really announced when they're going to be releasing television shows. It's all it's very competitive for them. So they wait until the last minute and they see, okay, well, they're going to be releasing their big shows on these dates, so I have to listen to these dates. It's all just jockeying for position. So they're not, I don't think they're ready to announce anything yet. And won't until other people are ready.
Yeah, that probably makes sense. But I don't know. I don't know if that's a big question. I mean, they started it on Halloween. They're probably going to do it on Halloween.
Yeah.
Probably Monday. In
Well,
2011.
the night before that.
Yeah.
So.
And we'll all come up with a bunch of stuff to talk about until then.
I'm sure we will. Speaking of that, what do you guys have planned for the next 10 months?
I'll probably watch some zombie movies and talk about them. We'll keep reporting the news. What else do we say?
We're going
Take top
to
fives.
do our top 5 lists, and we're going to definitely not podcast as often, but
Yeah,
we're
every week.
yeah, exactly. We're going to there's a lot of stuff to talk about.
And maybe we can do another joint episode in a few months. If you guys are up for it.
Totally. Love to. This was tons of fun.
Yeah. What about you?
Well, we're going to take a short break over the holidays and then come back in January with something. We haven't totally figured it out yet. We'll probably go down to every 2 weeks like you guys and, like you said, report the news and just keep on track of what's going on. I mean, if we can do this for nearly a year before the show's on air, I'm sure we can handle, from one season to the next. So,
We also bring on, we talk about other shows that we like. We're going to have an episode coming up that's going to be about Doctor Who, like new Doctor Who series, and we also like, why am I completely blanking on it?
True
Blood.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
2 shows I'm also a big fan of, although I haven't seen the last season of Doctor Who yet. I thought about that.
Well, it's much entertaining. You should definitely pick it up.
Did what's his name do a good job?
Very good job.
Yeah.
He did, and no one like him. It was so good. And then I think luckily after a few episodes, everybody was like, yeah, he's good.
You know what? I love Christopher Eccleston, and I was not sure about David Tennant, and he came on. He was amazing. I love him, so I'm sure they know what they're doing, and they've got something good.
It's definitely a different direction for the Doctor that they haven't gone before. He's very young and it's very kind of, it's a little more campy, a little more comedy injected into it, but it's very, very good.
Okay, I will check it out. And then I'll check out your guys' show about Doctor Who. That'll be good. So just before we let you go, you're at WalkingDeadcast.com, but let everyone know where to find you guys if you want.
Yeah, just go on iTunes and search for Walking Dead Cast. There's like 27 Walking Dead podcasts now, so look for the one that says Jason and Karen. Or go to WalkingDeadcast.com.
Cool. And on Twitter, you're at Jason Karen, right?
We're Jason Karen, yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks so much, guys, and enjoy the holidays, your time off. Thanks for doing this. I had a really good time.
Yeah, great.
And
Thanks so much.
Yeah, that was fun. That was good.
Great
Thanks, guys.
time.
cool. All right, we'll talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
Don't give it.
Bye.
Bye.
If you want to contact us on The Talking Dead, please do so at talkingdeadpodcast@gmail.com or twitter.com/talkingdead. Finally, you can also call our voicemail line at 1-866-483-9662. That's 866-483-ZOMB.
Zombie.
B is for Barton.
B is for Barton.
There you go. Thanks, everybody. As we mentioned, we will be taking a little break over the holidays and come back in January
2011.
2011. It'll be exciting, and we'll figure out something to do, report the news, talk about the show, and lead up to season 2 of The Walking Dead. Thank you so much for listening. It has been wonderful. We hope